right. So disability insurance. It's probably not something we think about every day,
Right.
but it's it's pretty important stuff, you know?
Absolutely.
Today we're going to do a deep dive into disability insurance because, well, you want to know how to protect your income, you know, if life throws you a curveball.
Yeah.
And here's something to think about. You know, did you know that 1 in 4 workers will experience a disability before they retire?
It's a pretty surprising statistic.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really makes you realize that disability insurance is something that everyone should consider,
Yeah, for sure.
not just people in, quote unquote risky jobs.
Right, exactly.
It's like we insure our cars and our homes,
Mm-hmm.
but we often forget to protect our ability to earn an income,
Yeah,
which, let's face it, is kind of the engine of our financial lives.
that's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we get into the weeds here, let's just sort of break down the basics.
Yeah.
What actually RIS disability insurance?
Okay.
So first things first,
Yeah.
it's not health insurance. Right.
Health insurance is for medical bills.
Mm-hmm.
Disability insurance is designed to replace part of your income.
Right.
If you can't work due to an illness or an injury.
It's kind of like a safety net for your finances.
Yeah.
You know, it helps you cover those essential bills when your regular paycheck might be, out of the picture for a while.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, you're a freelance graphic designer
Okay.
and you suddenly break your wrist.
Ooh,
That's a major setback, right?
absolutely.
You can't use your hand, you can't work, those bills start piling up.
Yeah.
This is where short-term disability insurance comes in,
Right.
or STD,
Yeah.
which is designed to cover you for temporary situations just like this,
Uh-huh.
typically for 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
It's like a bridge, right?
Yeah.
Giving you some time to recover and get back on your feet financially.
And what's really great is that a lot of employers actually offer short-term disability insurance as part of their benefits package.
Oh, that's good to know. So it's always worth checking, what your workplace provides.
Yeah, absolutely. Check with your HR department or whoever.
Yeah.
But what if your disability is something that lasts longer than a few months?
Right.
Let's say our graphic designer with the broken wrist, it requires multiple surgeries
Oh, wow.
and extensive rehab.
Yeah.
And they can't work for, who knows how long.
Uh-huh.
This is where long-term disability insurance
LTD.
steps up to the plate.
Yeah.
It's for those more serious, long-lasting disabilities that could keep you out of work for years,
Years.
potentially even until retirement.
Yeah, and long-term disability insurance usually kicks in after your short-term coverage ends.
Okay.
And it can replace a significant portion of your income,
Mhm.
often around 60 to 70%.
Wow.
So that
Yeah.
can really help you, maintain some financial stability during a challenging time.
For sure.
Yeah.
And this is where this concept of own occupation versus any occupation comes in.
Yes.
This is a big distinction.
A huge distinction between policies.
Yeah. Let's go back to our graphic designer.
Okay.
If their policy uses an own occupation definition,
Yeah.
they'd be covered even if they could technically do some other type of work,
Right.
as long as they can't perform their specific job
Their specific job as a graphic designer.
as a graphic designer, right?
Yes, exactly.
But with an any occupation definition,
Yeah,
the policy would only pay out if they were unable to work any job
any job.
that they're reasonably qualified for,
Right.
which is a much higher bar to clear.
It is.
So you can see how important it is to understand these definitions when choosing coverage.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's
They're
crucial.
like the difference between being able to drive a car and being able to drive a Formula One race car.
Okay.
They're both driving, but the skill set and the demands are completely different.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
It really highlights why you need to choose a policy that really aligns with your specific profession
Yeah,
and the unique requirements of your job.
exactly. So we've got STD and LTD. ONOC and ANYOCR.
Yeah,
Are you feeling overwhelmed yet?
a little bit.
Don't worry, we'll break it all down. We'll make it super clear for you.
Okay, good.
But before we dive into why you might need this, let's talk about how disability insurance actually works.
Okay.
Like any insurance, you pay premiums to have that safety net when you need it.
Right.
Think of it as an investment in your peace of mind.
Yeah, and the cost of those premiums will vary depending on factors like your age, your health occupation, and of course your income.
Okay.
So, someone with a desk job might pay less than a construction worker, for example.
That makes sense. You're basically assessing risk, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so I know insurance policies can be confusing.
Yeah.
So let's break down some key terms here.
Okay.
First up is the waiting period, also known as the elimination period.
Yes, the waiting period is basically the amount of time that you have to wait
Okay.
after becoming disabled before those benefits start rolling in.
Okay.
It's kind of like a deductible,
Right.
but for your income. With short-term disability insurance, it's usually pretty short, maybe a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
But with long-term disability insurance, that waiting period can be much longer,
Oh, wow.
like 3 months, even longer sometimes.
So you want to make sure you have enough in savings to cover those initial months before the benefits kick in.
Absolutely. It's all about being prepared
Right.
and having that financial cushion for those unexpected, bumps in the road.
Exactly. Okay, so you've waited out the waiting period,
Yeah.
and the benefits are rolling in.
All right.
But for how long?
Right.
That's where the benefit period comes in.
A benefit period, yes.
This is how long those disability payments will actually continue.
Right.
Short-term policies might cover you for just a few months, while long-term policies could extend for years, even decades.
Yeah, it really just depends on the policy and your specific circumstances.
So let's say our graphic designer needs 6 months to fully recover from their injury.
Okay.
They'd want to make sure that their policy has a benefit period that covers that whole duration.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork. We've got the basics down. But why should you specifically care about disability insurance?
Well, I think it's important to unpack some common misconceptions about disability insurance.
Okay.
People often think, oh, I have a desk job, I'm not really at risk.
Right.
But the reality is that disability doesn't discriminate.
True.
It's not just about, accidents on the job.
Mm-hmm.
It's about those unexpected illnesses that can really happen to anyone.
Right, like cancer, heart disease, even mental health conditions.
Exactly.
These things can affect anyone regardless of their profession or lifestyle.
It's like that saying, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans.
Yeah, that's so true.
Right.
And while we're talking about misconceptions, let's talk about another big one.
Okay.
Workers' compensation will cover me.
Yeah. A lot of people think that.
Right. Workers' comp is great, but it only covers injuries or illnesses that happen specifically AT work.
At work, right?
Disability insurance, on the other hand, covers both work-related and non-work-related issues.
Exactly. It's a much broader safety net.
Yeah. And even if you have, what you think is a fantastic employer with great benefits,
Right.
there's still a chance that those benefits might not be enough, or you might change jobs down the line.
Absolutely.
Having your own individual policy just gives you that extra layer of security,
It does.
knowing that you're protected no matter what.
It's like having your own personal safety net.
Yeah,
It's tailored to your own specific needs and circumstances.
exactly. So we've debunked some myths, and hopefully you're starting to see why disability insurance is more than just a nice to have.
Yeah.
It's a crucial part of a solid financial plan.
It is.
But with all these different options and details, how do you even begin to choose the right insurance for you?
Well, that's what we're going to explore next.
Oh, cool.
We're going to break down all the key factors you need to consider,
Right.
from assessing your income needs to understanding all those, tricky policy details.
Yeah. Stay tuned. We're about to give you the knowledge you need to make informed decisions about your financial future.
Yes, we are. It's interesting, thinking about how disability insurance can impact other areas of our financial lives.
Oh.
Things that this source didn't really get into.
Okay.
Like what happens to student loans if you become disabled
Oh, yeah.
and can't work?
That's a good question.
Student loan debt is a huge burden for a lot of people,
It is.
And I know that some federal student loans have disability discharge programs,
Okay.
but qualifying for those can be really tough.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
private loans often have different rules altogether.
Right.
So it's definitely worth looking into,
Yeah.
how your specific loans would be handled if you couldn't work.
Yeah, don't just assume that they go away.
Right, exactly.
Do your research.
Yeah.
Okay, so student loans, check.
Mm-hmm.
What about retirement savings?
Oh, that's another good one.
If you're, depending on disability insurance to cover basic living expenses,
Yep.
does that mean your retirement plans get put on hold?
Well, ideally,
Yeah.
disability insurance would be there to, help you stay afloat in the present
Mm.
while your retirement savings are still, growing for the future.
Right.
But realistically,
Yeah.
living on a reduced income might make it hard to contribute to those accounts as much as you normally would.
Right. You got to prioritize
Yeah.
the here and now,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean throwing your retirement goals completely out the window.
No, not at all.
Maybe it means like tweaking your savings strategy a little bit.
Yeah.
reducing contributions for a while or exploring different investment options.
Right. Finding a balance that works for your own unique situation.
Yeah.
And, this is where having a financial advisor can be really helpful.
Oh, okay.
They can look at your big picture, disability coverage, savings debts,
Right.
and help create a plan that addresses both your short-term and long-term needs.
So it's like having a coach in your corner
It is.
to guide you through those tough choices.
Exactly.
Now, the source mentioned that disability insurance replaces a portion of your income.
Right.
But what about people who have other sources of income?
Okay.
Like, say you have rental properties or do some freelance work on the side. Does that affect your coverage?
That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
And there's no easy answer.
Okay.
It really depends on your specific policy and the nature of that extra income.
Okay.
Some policies might reduce your benefits if you have other income streams,
Right.
while others might be more flexible.
Okay.
It's definitely something to clarify with your insurance provider when you're shopping around for policies.
Yeah. Don't be shy about getting into those nitty-gritty details.
Exactly.
The more you understand, the better.
Right. The more you understand how your policy works, the better prepared you'll be if you ever need to file a claim.
Now, here's something I've always wondered about.
Okay.
Mental health.
Yes.
We know it's a leading cause of disability. But is it treated the same as a physical disability when it comes to insurance?
That's a great question. And it's an area where we've seen a lot of positive change.
Okay, good.
In the past, mental health conditions were often stigmatized,
Right.
and getting coverage for them was much harder.
Yeah,
But thankfully, things are changing.
good.
Many disability insurance policies now explicitly cover mental health conditions,
Oh, that's great.
recognizing that they can be just as debilitating as physical illnesses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I imagine there's still some fine print to be aware of.
Oh, absolutely. Even if a policy covers mental health, there might be limitations or specific criteria.
Right.
For example, they might require documentation from a mental health professional,
Mm-hmm.
or they might limit the benefit period for certain conditions.
Right.
So it's really essential to read that policy carefully and understand all those nuances.
So if you have a history of mental health challenges or you're concerned about the possibility of developing a mental health condition in the future, it's really important to do your research and find a policy that provides adequate coverage in that area.
Exactly. Not all policies are created equal.
Right.
You want one that aligns with your individual needs.
Yeah.
And gives you peace of mind.
We've been talking about some pretty serious stuff.
We have.
But now I'm curious about something a little lighter.
Okay.
What are some of the more unusual or unexpected things that disability insurance might cover?
Oh, that's a fun one. I've heard of policies covering carpal tunnel syndrome for musicians,
Oh, wow.
vocal cord damage for singers,
Yeah.
even back problems for professional athletes.
Wow. So there really is a policy for everything.
There really is. It's all about tailoring that coverage to your specific profession
Yeah.
and the unique risks involved.
So if you're a professional cuddler or a competitive eater,
Right.
maybe there's a policy out there for you too.
You never know. But, while we're having fun with this, it's important to remember that disability insurance is, at its core, a serious matter.
Yeah, for sure.
It's about protecting your financial well-being in the face of the unexpected.
Absolutely. Not something to take lightly,
Right.
but that doesn't mean we can't approach it with a little bit of curiosity, a
Yeah,
sense of empowerment, right?
exactly. The more we understand about disability insurance, the better choices we can make
Right.
that align with our values and our goals.
Okay, so we've covered a lot,
We have.
from the basics of disability insurance to some of these less obvious considerations.
Mm.
As we're wrapping up this part, I want to sort of shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
The source focused mainly on the individual's perspective, but
Mhm.
there's a whole other layer to this.
Right.
What do you mean?
Think about the societal implications of disability.
Oh, okay.
We've made progress in recognizing and accommodating people with disabilities,
Yeah,
but there's still work to be done.
absolutely. We need to create a world where everyone can thrive,
Yeah,
regardless of their abilities.
absolutely.
And that includes making sure that people with disabilities have access to all the resources and support that they need.
Including financial security.
You're right. And disability insurance is just one piece of that puzzle.
Yeah.
But it's an important one. It's about creating a safety net, not just for individuals,
Mm-hmm.
but for society as a whole.
So as you're continuing to learn about disability insurance, think beyond your own personal needs.
Yeah,
Consider the bigger picture.
absolutely.
How can we as a society
Right.
create a more inclusive and supportive environment for people with disabilities?
Exactly.
What policies and systems do we need to put in place to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to live a full and meaningful life?
Those are big questions
They are, yeah.
that will shape the future of disability, and they're worth thinking about.
That's a really powerful thought, and it leads us perfectly into the final part of our deep dive,
Oh, right.
where we're going to explore the future of disability insurance,
Right.
the trends,
Yeah.
the innovations, and what it all means for you.
Oh, excited.
Stay tuned. We've really explored the, personal side of disability insurance.
And its broader societal impact.
Mm.
But now I want to look ahead. What's on the horizon for disability insurance? What trends and innovations are shaping the landscape?
Well, one thing that's really exciting is the role that technology is playing.
Okay.
We're seeing these insurtech companies
Mm-hmm.
that are using data analytics, AI, and digital platforms to really streamline the entire process of applying for and managing disability insurance.
So less paperwork headaches, faster approvals, and maybe even personalized policies based on individual needs and risks.
Exactly. It's
I
all
get it.
about making disability insurance more accessible, more affordable, and more user-friendly.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
And we're also seeing this growing focus on preventative care and wellness programs.
Oh, that makes sense. The healthier people are,
Yeah,
the less likely they are to need to use their disability insurance.
exactly. Some insurers now even offer discounts or rewards for things like exercising regularly, eating well, or participating in stress reduction programs.
So it's like a win-win
It-
for both the individual and the insurance company.
Yeah.
Now, what about the government's role in all of this? Does the government provide any kind of disability coverage?
Yes. In the United States, we have Social Security Disability Insurance,
Uh-huh.
or SSDI,
SSDI?
which provides benefits to people who have worked and paid Social Security taxes, but can no longer work due to a disability.
So it's like a government-funded safety net for those who meet the eligibility requirements.
Right.
But I imagine it's not always easy to qualify for SSDI.
No, you're right. The application process can be quite long and complicated.
Yeah.
And approval rates aren't always high.
Okay.
So that's why having a private disability insurance policy can be so important.
Mm-hmm.
It can provide that coverage while you're waiting for SSDI approval,
Right.
or if you're not eligible for SSDI at all.
Yeah, it's like having that extra backup plan just in case.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into disability insurance, I want to just circle back to something we touched on earlier.
Okay.
The importance of these open and honest conversations about disability.
That's
I know
it.
it can be an uncomfortable topic for some,
It can be.
but the more we talk about it, the more we normalize it, and the better we can support each other.
I completely agree. We need to break down those stigmas and create a culture where people feel comfortable discussing their experiences with disability, whether it's their own or that of a loved one.
It's about empathy and understanding,
Yes.
and creating a society that values inclusivity and accessibility for all.
And remember, disability insurance isn't just about protecting your income. It's about protecting your dreams, your goals, your ability to live a fulfilling life no matter what challenges come your way.
Well said. I think that's a great way to put it.
Thank you.
To our listeners, we hope this deep dive has given you a much better understanding of disability insurance.
Yeah.
Why it's so important and how it can fit into your overall financial plan.
Yeah.
It's not just about numbers and policies. It's about peace of mind. It's about security.
Absolutely.
It's about knowing that you're prepared for whatever life might throw at you.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Always remember, knowledge is power, and now you have the power to make those informed decisions about your future.
As you do.
Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep those wheels turning.
Absolutely.
That's a wrap for our deep dive on disability insurance.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, happy diving!